Hey Etsy sellers, I wanted to share this great new feature that Vela has. Vela is the bulk editor that up until now I've pronounced wrong. It's not Vela, it's Vela. And they now allow you to create variation profiles that you can save and then later apply to listings, which is fantastic. It's going to save a lot of time. There's actually a few things I've been procrastinating on renewing because of the fact that I now am offering either 6 or 9 dividers with my basic Divide It wallet. And so I need to, every time I renew a listing, I need to change that and add that variation. So now I can take these wallets that are sitting here waiting to be renewed, create a variation profile, and I'm going to be able to renew them all at once instead of going into each listing. So when you log into Vela at getvela.com, if you already have an account there, you'll probably see this note at the top telling about the variation profiles. So I'm going to show you how to do it super quick. In order to do it, you need to get into the edit function, so you have to click something. It doesn't really matter what you click because you're going to go back and select your listings later. On the left-hand side, you're going to go down to Profiles. Here you're going to name your profile. This is just for your own internal naming. It's not going to be shown on the listing. So I'm just going to call mine Number of Dividers. Here, choosing a category is going to populate a listing of variations that Etsy has already decided. You might be creating your own variation like me, but you still have to choose a category because you can't start doing anything until you've chosen a category. So I'm just going to choose my main category. I'm not going to drill down because I don't need to. But if you typically use the variations that Etsy has already put in place, and I would recommend doing that if you can, if your variation you need to make fits one of those categories, I recommend you going ahead and doing it. I'm going to be making a new one, so I'm just choosing bags and purses, and then when I click here, I'm going to add my own variation type. So my variation that the customer is going to see is choose number of dividers. So I will add that, and then it reminds you that you have to have at least one option for that, and my options are 6 dividers and 9 dividers. So you'll see this looks just like when you would normally just create a variation in Vela. And then I'm going to go over to pricing, and I do price those individually because obviously with more dividers it costs more. So I type those prices in. And that is all I need. I don't need to do the quantity, SKU, or visibility on this particular profile. So now that I've gotten all the information in there, I'm just going to click Create a New Profile. And you'll see that it's listed down here, and then it's just going to pop up for you to create another one if you want to. So I'm going to go back to my listings, and I actually, because I didn't want to renew these yet, but I wanted to make sure they were brought over to Vela, I went into my sold out listings and then I briefly renewed them and I made them inactive, because you can also edit inactive listings in Vela. I didn't want them to be in my shop yet for people to purchase without the options. So I'm going to go to my inactive listings and choose those wallets that I need to now have the 2 options for dividers on. And when I edit them, that's when I can now go to my variations because I've set up those profiles. So you can do 2 things here. When you go to this section, you can either edit variations as usual down here, or you can choose a profile up here. So I'm going to choose the number of dividers profile. It will automatically mark all these listings that you've chosen to edit. It'll show what the information is that you put in, and then you just click Apply, and it's going to apply that variation to all of those listings, and then you sync your updates to Etsy. That usually goes through pretty quickly. So let's just check here. I'm going to go into my listings and click on inactive, which is where I had those listings. This one, for some reason, it hadn't synced over to Vela when I put these in the inactive, so I'm going to ignore that one. But all these others that I chose, you can see that it now has the range for the price of the dividers. So it synced it right over, and now I can go through and I can activate those. And that is it. Pretty slick.